All right, I'm excited for a special episode here of This Week in Israel Tech. My name is Yoel Israel, and I'm your host. So, we're doing something unique today. We're trying to actually expand and understand better what is going on in the Israeli tech ecosystem. But sometimes, in order to do that, we need to go far away to bring it back home. That's why I'm excited to have with us today Charlie Federman from Silvertech Ventures, along with his friends that he gratefully introduced me to, Snir Ben Shimol from Zest Security, and also Sivan Tehila from Onyxia Cyber. All of them are currently in New York. So we have Israeli tech working in New York, a growing trend. We're seeing more of New York, Boston, also Houston, less of the Bay Area. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the things people are always talking about recently. How are they using AI in their technology? Is it overrated, underrated? We'll also be talking about go to market, particularly when it comes to expanding and landing in the United States, being able to sell your products there, how to properly navigate the market, also including recruitment. And we have a lot of other topics that we hope to get to. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll be sure to address them here directly. Snir, Sivan, Charlie, thank you and welcome to Israel Tech.
Thank you for coming.
Awesome. So let's start. Snir, you can take yourself off mute so you can go ahead and interrupt yourself as needed. Let's talk about New York and America. Why is it that you felt the need in order to relocate yourselves in New York as opposed to do things in Israel? What are the advantages and, of course, the disadvantages?
I'm happy to start. I didn't relocate for this role specifically. It was for a different role in a different company I previously worked for. But what I learned over the years is that if your market is here, as a founder, it's super important to be here. And there is so much you can do when you're here and you meet people in person. And the engagement with your clients is crucial, obviously, especially when you start a new business. And it is very hard to do things remotely. And one of the things I always say to my clients is that they're really part of the mission. And if I want them to be part of our mission and to help us improve ourselves all the time, the in-person engagement is super important. And being close to them and to their needs is something that is key. So that's the way I see it. Happy to hear and your Snir's thoughts as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. I'm sharing the same the same thoughts. I also moved over 8 years ago to New York, working in the large enterprise as leading the cybersecurity there. Even in large enterprises, and even more important in startup, the biggest market is the US market, and building cybersecurity products, specifically in our field, is very saturated. And it's very complex. And everyone have cybersecurity problems, but different flavors and different variation. Because of like most of the market is here in United States, being in New York basically help us to get faster to a product market fit, got us to build very close relationship with customers very, very fast and do it on a personal level. As we all know, Zoom is great. During COVID, we kind of adapted into working remotely. But when it comes to really understand people's pain, especially in very sensitive topic like cyber, meeting over coffee, going to a restaurant, spending time with the security team in their own kind of offices, if it's in New York or any type of area, that was a key. I think especially for New York, we picked New York because it's the East Coast, and we all have colleagues, R&D, product teams, technical team in Israel. So from time zone perspective, from a flight perspective, this is the place to be. It's like the good of both worlds.
Well, soon America might be in Gaza, so maybe you don't do it so far after all. We didn't really do good introduction. So Snir, maybe you can, while you're talking, just say a little bit about yourself and Zest shortly, and then Sivan will circle back to you just to introduce you. And I'm sorry we overlooked that, and then we'll have Charlie go ahead and introduce himself and give us his opinion.
Awesome. Yeah, so Snir Ben Shimol, I'm the CEO of co-founder of Zest Security. We're early stage cybersecurity company, well funded. We're fortunate to have Silvertech and Charlie as part of our investors. And we, after over 15 years experience in cybersecurity and kind of both in product and go-to-market, and we realized that there is a lot of capabilities and the cybersecurity area is rich with detecting problems. But then everyone asking, then what? Okay, we know about our problems, what can we do? So we built Zest in order to solve a cybersecurity team's problems. So we take in cybersecurity risks, misconfiguration and vulnerability, and we're building resolution path, leveraging AI, leveraging DevOps system, and enjoying the open source communities as well. We have Fortune 500 companies, healthcare, financial services, and we're growing fast. Important fact is our R&D is based in Israel. Two of me and my co-founder are based in New York, but we decided to build R&D in Israel, and we can talk about it later today in the call.
Yeah, again, we'll talk about what's it like to be founders in America and R&D in Israel, because it's not just Israelis. Fascinating. It's not just Israelis coming and, let's say, maybe setting up shop, founders in America while they do sales, we build a business, and they usually come back after a few years, and keeping R&D in Israel. But you're also seeing American companies going out of their way to build their R&D in Israel and engineering. So we'll talk more about that. Sivan, a quick introduction just about yourself, your career, and Onyxia.
Sure. So I started my career in the army in Israel. I served for 10 years as a cybersecurity officer. I was the CISO of the Research and Analysis Division and the head of the Information Security Unit for the Intelligence Corps. Later, I worked for... I'm sorry?
I said, please don't show off. That's impressive. Yeah.
That was an incredible journey. I don't think I would end up in cybersecurity if not the Army. And it opened an opportunity for me for an incredible career. And I later worked for other defense industries like Rafael, critical infrastructures in Israel. And at some point, I shifted into the startup world, joined Perimeter 81, which was an incredible journey itself. The best outcome was that I met there, my CTO was their CTO, my VP of marketing, and I was very fortunate to meet great people in New York over the years, but also when I was a CISO myself and worked very closely with CISOs over the years, I realized that there is a huge need in the way we're managing security programs. We're talking about AI, but AI is really as good as the data behind it, and there is so much data in each security product that we're implementing, and often we see companies implement solutions on top of solutions without really being able to explain why those solutions really needed, how they serve the business, how they enable the business. And it was really about time for CISOs to have a security management platform to help them optimize their existing security stack, leverage their data for compliance and reporting purposes, and improve their security program on an ongoing basis. So that's what we have developed. I was very lucky on the first weeks of thinking about this idea to meet Charlie and Silvertech. At the minute I got into Silvertech office, I felt home. And one of the things that it's super important for entrepreneurs in New York is to find your home away from home, a place where you can really feel supported and be surrounded by incredible and inspiring people. So very happy to be here, and it's a great honor to be on this session with Charlie and Snir. And
so, Charlie, would you say those compliments are accurate? She's basically saying you're like the Chabad house of tech in New York.
It's actually true.
Look,
just based on our first conversation,
I'm objective to be surrounded by people who I admire. It's a very simple objective, and I'm pleased that it's actually coming true. These founders, Snir and Sivan, sitting here with great smiles on their face. Behind that smile is the reality that they're standing in the middle of a hurricane. The winds of market changes and product changes and culture and people are swirling about them while they're on missions to do something really important, these two in the cyber area. It's lonely in the middle of that hurricane. And my partner, Larry, and myself, we help them create the companies of their dreams.
That's amazing. I know I'm sure we all appreciate our support. So let's jump in and let's talk about first. Let's talk about, just since we got two cyber founders here. I started a marketing agency. We have more cybersecurity clients than any marketing agency in the world. I love cyber. So let's talk about the state of cyber. How do you think things have changed, let's say, in the last couple of years since October 7th, when it comes to cybersecurity? Are both enterprises and also governments, the way that they're treating and approaching it, has that changed, and how has that affected your business, if so? Sivan, why don't you start while Snir mutes?
Yeah, so I think we see many changes in the past few years. I think if I was trying to build my company 5 or 6 years ago, I don't think it was really similar. I think we see more regulations coming in the cybersecurity space. One major regulation is the new SEC cybersecurity rule that require companies not only to disclose incidents in 4 days, but also to disclose security programs and strategies. And that puts a lot of stress and pressure on CISOs. It makes them, we see that the personal liability on them is even more than it used to be. We see more board members involved in the cybersecurity space. And I think that's why we see that there is an interesting evolution where cybersecurity becomes everyone's problem, and it's not just the CISO problem or the security team's problem. So I think the regulation is one major change, and obviously the great technologies that we have. And I know we're going to probably talk more about AI. What is it? How we're using it? But I think that it really allows us to build incredible technologies that I'm not sure we were able to build a few years ago. And it's not just about the ability to build them, it's the ability to create this trust with the clients. Because if 5 or 6 years ago, I would tell a client, hey, we're going to take all your data, correlate it, and give you an amazing insights you won't figure out yourself, they would tell me, look, we're not sure how it's going to work. No one did it before. But I think that the fact that we have those capabilities and people are starting to use generative AI and AI tools in their day-to-day lives, it's actually an easier way for us to sell and build the trust and to create these great products faster and in a more efficient way.
Do you have any cybersecurity professionals on your board?
You're asking Sivan?
No, I'm asking you, and then I was going to
No, my board is very small, and hopefully it will stay small, including investors. So the cybersecurity company, you're a small company, early stage, you want your boards to be very efficient, very small, not too many opinion. Especially as us Israelis.
Yeah. So the question is, sometimes when I'm just saying, like, I'm a marketer, right? First and foremost, a tech marketer. When I have more tech marketers involved, giving their opinion, sometimes it's like people think they know more, they know a lot, and they do, but they don't know what I'm trying to do, and they're trying to take their bias, not that it's wrong, and incorporate it to my unique technology. Sivan, are there any challenges in having a cybersecurity expert on the board of your cyber company?
I think it really depends on your approach. I find it very encouraging that most of the CISOs we speak with, they say we want to lead by transparency. And I wish I could tell you who told me that, but one of our clients who is a CISO I really appreciate, he said, I want to create this transparency with the board. I'm not looking to hide. I think it's my responsibility in the same way it's their responsibility. But what we need to do is to really give them the tools and the ability to look at things in a way that they can understand. So, for example, when we talk with board members about security programs, we can get very technical, but that means nothing to them. But when you speak language that they understand, like we're, for example, talking about KPIs, SLAs, performance, those are things that are measurable and they can do something with and they can understand. The other part of it is that I think that it's actually very healthy for companies to have board member with board members with cyber expertise. And by the way, you ask Snir if he has, but it's mainly for public companies in a certain size, obviously. And I do think it's healthy because they know what are the questions they need to ask their CISOs and security teams. And I think over time, we're going to see a standard in the area. I think the main problem we have now is that we have regulation, but we don't have a standard. And then no one really knows how to please the regulator or the auditor because they don't know what to present and how to present it. And for example, if we're talking about KPIs and SLAs, each company define their own KPIs and their own SLAs. And who say that it's 5 days to resolve critical vulnerabilities is better than 10? We don't know. But I think that as we see the regulation evolve and as we see more companies adopt solutions that basically help them provide those reporting and performance and disclosure of their security programs, will build a standard. And that's what we aim to do as part of our mission, to allow companies to use the industry knowledge and the industry standard best practices to improve their own performance and security posture.
And I will add to that, and thanks, Sivan. I think what we do have in early stage startup, because we don't have a big board, as Sivan mentioned, as a public company, we have advisors. So we are using a cybersecurity executive as advisors. So every time we want, from building a feature in the product or building the product roadmap all the way to how do I address the cybersecurity market, those folks gives us a lot of insights. The beauty about advisors, they cannot tell you what to do, but they're there to share what they think. So you basically have a very genuine conversation with a very smart people. We're continuously adding advisors that provide value to us in the community. So this is how we basically use the opinions of cybersecurity leaders in major roadmap and strategic decision in the startup companies.
Charlie, when you work with startups and founders such as Snir and Sivan, and they need to work on creating a board or advisory board or just a board in general, what would you think one should specifically look for in putting one together? And what do you think they should avoid? Like what are red flags of someone you might think might be good, but actually they might cause bigger headaches down the line?
I think the most important thing is chemistry between the CEO/founders and the board member. You need people who will listen to each other and will influence each other. If somebody comes to the board with a perspective that I'm here to provide governance, that's not going to work well. Instead, the same way that we're having a conversation now, most boards are not around governance, but they are around interactions and reaching consensual decisions to build a company. And building a company is an art, not a science. You could have different opinions and do things different ways.
Yeah, I've learned that there's many ways to get to the Holy Land. You can
walk for 40 years in the desert, right?
There you go. Right. Yeah.
Right now you only have one international airline company, but in general, yes, you can go to the Holy Land in many ways.
All right, so let's get into AI. Snir, what do you think? Is it possible to build today in 2025, a successful cyber tech company, a cybersecurity company that is not built on AI?
No.
So it's not strong corporate data. What about you? We'll elaborate. Sivan, would you agree or disagree?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Can you build a cybersecurity company in 2025 that's not built on AI?
I guess it depends on the purpose. I mean, I don't know if, it's important. It's part of our lives. It's probably but what is AI? I mean, there are just so many technologies behind it.
What is AI?
Statistical models, like what kind of AI are you using? And that's why, I have a problem with, the fact that we're just using AI for everything. I do think it's becoming something that if we want or not, we're going to use, but we do need to understand the nuances and what does it mean? What kind of technologies? Because those are questions. We work with smart people. We have smart investors. We have smart clients. When you tell them we're using AI, you need to be able to explain what is
right, because everyone's saying that.
Exactly. So I would say that I believe that everyone will need to utilize AI in a certain way. But in terms of like building a company with or without it, it really depends on what your mission is and what is the problem you're trying to solve. And then, we're looking at the technology. So I want to say carefully that there is no right or wrong, and AI is not like now going to replace everything, but it's definitely something that is going to become part of our day-to-day lives. And I think in the same way that you needed to explain to investors and clients what's under the hood of your technology, you'll need to really go deeper on what is the AI you're using and how you're really utilizing it.
So y'all, I think they're both right in different ways.
Of course you do, Charlie.
I think that, well, yeah, I mean, look, Sivan is right that not every product needs to have AI in it. But Snir is absolutely right that every company needs to utilize AI in the building of the company and harnessing the efficiency and harnessing the effective use of capital and harnessing the way to reach customers, et cetera. You cannot have a software company today that's successful in the enterprise world and you're not utilizing AI in some way.
Go ahead, Sivan.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I agree with that. I totally agree. I think you have to use it. It just really depends how and what, and it's
yeah.
Snir, when did you come out of stealth?
A few months ago, August 2024.
Wow. Okay, mamash. And so when you came out of stealth, tell us about your product that you've developed when you came out of stealth.
Yeah. So
relation in general and cyber. And how did you build the technology on top of AI, or did you bring AI and build it on top of your security solutions?
Yeah, definitely. So I think like going out of stealth is a whole big topic. We decide to go out of stealth as fast and as soon as possible because I think like going out of stealth means two things. One, people know exactly what you're doing. And cybersecurity market is very saturated, as we all know. You have so many startups, so many tools, and also a lot of money to deploy. So a lot of founders saying like, I'm not ready to kind of open the kimono and kind of tell everyone what we're doing. So then it can create competition, and other companies that have more resources than an early stage company can potentially take that market or like beat you up to your goals. The other thing is most of the cybersecurity products are very, very complex. So it takes you at least 1.5 years to get to a very good, well-defined enterprise-ready product in cybersecurity. The technology is very advanced. So going out of stealth too early can basically give your competitors all the information about what you do and why you do it. And the second thing is, if people want to use your product and say like, oh, great, we have Zest Security, I want to evaluate you, show me a demo, tell me exactly what you support and exactly what you do. So going too early without like a strong product may put you in a very bad place and losing potential leads and not be able to kind of address all the inbound that you're getting from all the publication out of stealth. So those are, I think, the two main things. We went out of stealth because, and I love the flow of the conversation, we heavily focus on AI. Our product is built on top of AI engines. And we also, like 80% of our R&D are data and AI expert. AI is pretty new. So to say AI expert is comparing to the new theme of AI, they know what they do very well. And they have the experience before joining Zest. Thanks to that, we're able to take 1.5 years of product development and shrink it into 7 months. And in those 7 months, I worked very hard to bring the right design partners in order to help us to build the product in the right way. So instead of building a huge platform for 1.5 years and tell everyone, hey, now we're ready, come test us, come work with us, we went out of stealth early. We use AI to expedite the product development, and we're heavily focused in AI. We're using AI for security. We're not securing AI, which are two different type of things. And because we went out of stealth early, we got a lot of inbound, and those companies that wanted to kind of work with us and say like, oh, this is very interesting. Can you support my system? Can you support my technology? Can we work together? This is what made us get to a product market fit faster. When you put yourself out there and you're not scared and you take those risks and you have a trust in your team and you say like, just bring it on. Like this is like, we know that we're going to solve your pain. For large organization, of course, it took us like more time to show the value more, but in normal mid-market enterprises, in the first month of going out of stealth, we show the value in 2 weeks. So I think you don't need to be afraid. The market is faster than before. Like 2025, you need to get your goals and reach your goals faster than 2024, than 2023. So waiting behind the scene and walking in the shadows, I don't think it's going to expedite your product market fit. And I don't think it's going to kind of make you work with more customers to use your product more often and earlier so you can build a better product. So that's kind of like answering two questions as one answer.
Thank you. That was great, actually. That was really good content. We'll make you a short or a reel out of that. Let's move on to the funding environment. We'll start with you, Charlie. How do you think about the funding environment? Let's say how it's changed over the last few years, probably starting in mid 2022. We had a lot of inflation and recession hit in, a lot of capital dried up, burn rates accelerated, cash in the banks of startups obviously had less value with the printing of trillions of dollars in America. Then we had October 7th. How has that affected things? We also have a new president and vice president that are very pro VC and tech. The vice president came from a VC tech background. I was curious as to what do you think about how has the environment changed? And what do you think about the current environment when it comes to startups looking to raise money? Maybe you have any advice for Israeli startups or maybe others in venture capital or investment that would like to get your opinion.
Similar to the way Snir said that the software environment and product and company building environment is faster. I feel like we've been through multiple funding environments just in the last year. I mean, the cycles have gone so rapidly and the experts have been proven wrong every time since the advent of COVID and wars, et cetera, et cetera. But let's look at some quantitative numbers. Today, in the public markets, and let's use that as the basic reset, software companies are trading at 8 times next 12 months revenue on average. That's the number. By the way, at its peak 2 years ago, it was 17 times. And right now, it's below its 5-year average, 15% below its 5-year average. All right. And by the way, 15% below isn't like tremendously below. It's basically at market because there's subsegments that are above and subsegments that are below. But the public markets are basically where you expect them to be. The private markets are a little bit different. It's a difficult funding environment. I hear many of my Israeli friends bemoaning a difficult environment because they're in Israel. But it's true that the U.S. is suffering the same phenomena. It's not just an Israeli phenomena. It is worse in Israel. And the reason it's a difficult funding environment is that the venture industry put out a lot of capital very quickly and has not done such a great job returning capital to the people who gave them the money as the public markets and M&A markets not necessarily close, but very much reduce the exit opportunities.
Do you think those that were investing in the bubble,
with the sunny exception of cyber, which continues its growth in part because of a huge increase in the attack surfaces fueling growth?
do you think that bubble, I'll go with the new question then. Do you guys think cybersecurity is going to hit a bubble? Like, are we in a bubble, and do you think we're going to maybe in a few years just like drop 30%? I don't know, just as an ecosystem industry funding. Snir,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think cybersecurity is one of the most performing markets, and one of the best investments for in the private and in the public market. I will say, like, in a personal level, most of my investments, I think 80% of my investments in a personal level are all related to tech companies that have security offering or leading with their security offering. And I'm very happy about those investments. Even if you're looking like 15 years back, 10 years back, 5 years back, if you're looking through walls, if you're looking through COVID, if you're looking for all the changes in the public markets and the private markets, things are going down and going up. But comparing to any other market whatsoever, the cybersecurity market is always booming. The cybersecurity market is always kind of like getting a hit less than any other market. The reason is we need cybersecurity as much as we need food, as much as we need water, as much as we need breathing. We need security in order for organization to keep on operating. I think security as Israelis and Israelis that and even Jewish people, we understand that security is like something that is mandatory. So if you have a market that is mandatory, it's always going to be there. It's always going to grow. I don't remember any part of history that cybersecurity went down and the rest of the market went up, or when the rest of the market went down and cybersecurity went down even in a bigger type of way. It was never the case.
Right.
If we're looking on predictions, I think the market is just growing. Everyone now using AI. You need more cybersecurity. Your attack surface is growing. Sivan just mentioned regulations. The government are building cybersecurity regulations faster than ever. Back in the days, it was once in 4 or 5 years, there is like a small nuance regulation. Now every year, we have 3 massive regulations. And after that year, all those regulations being enforced, an organization getting fined by the government, by the regulatory bodies. So we're just seeing exponentially growth, specifically in cybersecurity and defense.
I would like to add to that, to Snir points. I think the other amazing thing in cybersecurity is that we always have an opportunity to innovate, because we always have new threats, and like you can't just stop and you can't fight new threats with all technologies, and that's exactly what we see now with AI, right? Like everyone's now utilizing this technology. We started with ChatGPT. Now we had like a whole buzz around the DeepSeek challenges and like these new technologies. So I think the opportunity to innovate and to always come up with new solutions is really something that is very unique in cybersecurity. I do think it's something that is mandatory. I think we're going to see even governments investing more efforts and money, not just on regulation. I didn't mention that, but I developed a master's program in cybersecurity for Yeshiva University, and I'm the program director there. And what I see in the past year, since we started the program it was 5 years ago, is that there is a huge need in talent. So the fact that there is a shortage in talent and we have all these new evolving threats will need to basically, obviously, to educate more people and students, and to educate the next generation of security experts and CISOs, but also to come up with technologies that help us automate many of those processes. And that's probably what Snir is doing and I'm doing with the technologies that we're developing. And I also see like new initiatives. I was involved in a project in the past few years of building a West Point for cybersecurity with Senator Kristen Gillibrand, and was one of the cybersecurity initiatives by the government. And there is a reason for that, and that's why I think we're going to see more need. And I don't think it's a bubble. I think there is a real need. Obviously, we can talk about bubbles and maybe other aspects and on maybe in the funding area, but investors will keep being interested in cybersecurity. The fact that we have amazing technologies and a shortage in people who can really address all those problems will make cybersecurity even more attractive over the years.
And we're not biased at all. We're not biased.
I disagree, guys. I don't think that trees grow infinitely to the heavens, and I look closer at what the two of you are doing. The reality is that a company cannot spend 100% of their expense budget on cybersecurity. There's a natural cap to it. And I look at what you're doing at Onyxia, Sivan, and what you're doing at Zest Snir, is that you guys are coming to the market with a value proposition for your customers to save them money on the budgets, to stop over provisioning, to identify gaps and prioritize spending, or to remediate at a significantly faster pace or lower cost than other solutions. Your solutions aren't just about, gee, you have to spend more money and a higher percentage of your budget needs to go to cyber. Your solutions are around use money more efficiently.
Right, optimization. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're talking more about like the funding and the investment area, but I guess it's definitely aligned with how much companies are willing to pay. And maybe it's like what I said earlier, like the fact that we save time and money for clients by automating some of those processes will keep security companies attractive for investors. And I agree with you that, we're here to make companies and CISO's life more efficient. We want to help them move faster. We want to help them optimize their existing tools and stack and to save time and money by that. We're definitely aligned on that.
Do you guys have any other thoughts or comments on the funding environment for tech in general and cybersecurity in specific before we move on to another topic?
2025 is a good year, I think, to raise money. It's better than 2023 and 2024, I think. Why? I think 2023 and 2024, like we had a lot of, in general, the macro was a little bit unknown, and a lot of the money was allocated into the public market, and kind of like even if you can get 5-6% on your money, just like putting it at some bonds, it was very hard to kind of get some more money into the private market and justify those high risk with high valuation. And to be honest, I do think it was more about unknown than the actual facts. The market, market is like a human, and it feels, and he is afraid, he's excited, and investors allocating money a lot of time because they excited about new things, and they're not allocated money because they're afraid of macroeconomic changes. So we have the war in Ukraine, situation in Israel, changes in government changes in the United States. A lot of things happen. And I think this is why the previous year was a little bit less good than what's 2025 going to be. Charlie is the expert in that. I do think the last thing I want to do is if you a founder, or if you are someone who wants to build technology to solve a problem, care less about the market right now. Just build solutions that provide value, find the right customer, and just do it. If you truly believe that you can solve a real pain, it doesn't matter if the market is less good right now, it's going to be better, it's going to be worse. If you know what you're doing and you have a strong team and you have a strong idea, just go do it. That's what I'm thinking.
So talking about going and doing it, let's talk about moving fast. Israelis are the most impatient people that I love. I'm just thinking how to finish that sentence in the world. I have the opportunity and pleasure of working with Israeli tech companies that have long sales cycles, long marketing cycles, but happen to have the most impatient founders. Not you guys, of course. How does one move fast in such a deep tech world as technology gets deeper and more complicated? Staying up to date, educating your prospects and your clients, let alone your team, updating technologies. How are you able to move fast? Is it possible to move fast? Like, how does that work? And then maybe if you can also speak to, if you want, the cultural challenges of Israelis being impatient and wanting to move fast, and maybe the people that you may be partnering and working with there on the ground in New York don't understand that kind of culture.
Yeah, I think Sivan, if before I want to ask, like, to direct that to Sivan, because I think she have a lot of a lot of good points there. The only thing I can
you
say,
want to say I'm impatient? Are you trying to say I'm the impatient here?
She can't wait to answer. She's too impatient.
The amount of time I saw Sivan running in between meetings in the office, and sometimes just wanted to say hi, and she's running with a laptop from one meeting to another. So I think she's the perfect person to kind of answer the moving fast. I just want to say one thing. I don't want it to sound like a niche, but as a founder, you have so much on your plate. Moving fast is probably the most important thing. Like, speed is more important than quality, especially in early stage. If someone disagree with me, it's okay. Speak up.
You can be wrong.
But you need to, like, for me, you need to be fast. It's called startup. You need to be fast. The only way you can be fast, if you have a strong team, and if your team can own responsibility and can execute on those responsibilities. Because if everything is going to be on the shoulders of the founders, you're screwed. It's not going to work. So I think the only way you can move fast is to have a team that can execute and a team that have trust and ownership of their task. If you have that, you can walk very, very fast, and you can achieve the goals very fast, and you can keep that pace. That's, I think, the number one thing that you ask about. How can you do that, and how can you harness speed? Some people can say AI, some people can say efficiency. Team, I think it's the number one thing. I don't know.
Sivan, before you address that, and I definitely want to see Snir get a video of Sivan running down the hall with her laptop on a meeting. I think that's content even IsraelTech will share. Sivan, when you speak to the importance of speed, moving fast, and what it's like and the challenges, maybe you could also speak to how are you perceived from other founders or people in the ecosystem in New York having an Israeli attitude of moving fast?
I really don't think we have a choice here. It's not that we choose. Like, I think you're either doing it or you're stay behind. So
you're running with a smile, Sivan. I saw that smile every time you're running. So you're choosing.
I feel like I'm very fortunate to do what I do, to build a company that I believe in, to solve a problem that I think is super important. And if you want to stay relevant, you have to move fast. Like, there is no choice. And it's true that I'm impatient. I'm impatient in general. It's not just when it comes to the company. But I think it's also really how you communicate this need and the fact that you need to move fast. And I totally agree with Snir. If you as a founder find yourself running around alone, something is wrong. Like, you need to make sure that everyone by your side are in the same phase of moving fast and delivering things fast. And one of the things I think I always say to my team, and I do that myself, if there is something we need to achieve, let's first put it on the calendar. When it's on the calendar and you have a date, it doesn't matter what happened. You need to deliver by then. You need to close the deal by then. You need to, obviously, life happens all the time, right? But you need to have a plan, a strategy, but most importantly, a deadline, because then everyone can align. And that's like maybe a more practical suggestion, but it works for us. And we don't have a choice. And I think it's when you run fast, the other important thing is to not miss opportunities that come by your side. Because sometimes you're like so focused on achieving one thing, and it's still important to stay aware of opportunities and like what's going on around you, and making sure that you move fast into the right direction, and not be afraid to sometimes like shift direction. Like one of the stories I always tell is that like I'm doing paddleboarding on the Hudson, and I like that's my active meditation. Like I need to take a few hours, especially in the summer, not now. But what I think is what I learned from the water, and I know Snir is surfing as well, is that you always have to have a strategy or a plan, right? You need to, if you want to go to George Washington Bridge, for example, you need to start with the wind behind you, and you need to plan like the current, the wind. But then when you're on the water, things changing all the time. Like you have jet skis, you have traffic in the water. Like there are many things you didn't expect, and you need to adjust your strategy. But at the end, it's really important to have a plan and try to follow it and adjust and stay agile as you need. I don't know, Snir, it seems like you want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the fast, and oftentimes I am usually Israeli entrepreneurs are coming in and explaining to me about how they're going to be moving faster than anybody else, as if moving fast is the objective. You don't fund a company because they move fast. And companies don't buy software from somebody because they've moved fast. You have to build value. And value and fast sometimes are in direct opposition to each other. Fast and quality can be enemies. They're not necessarily mutually exclusive. You have to sort of harness both, and you have to have a balance. There's a lot of companies that we all know that have shipped product before it's time to be fast and have not created happy customers. A company's objective is to create happy, profitable customers, not to be fast. Being fast is helpful relative to the competition and solving a problem that's there right now, but it isn't an objective to itself. And I think that many people get confused by that. And to your earlier point about AI, Yoel, which Snir and Sivan pointed to, I think AI, which is getting better by the moment, is helping companies hit a quality bar faster than they could have before, which gives young companies a significant advantage over more established competitors or players in marketplaces. Well, I'd like to ask Snir and Sivan, are they able to move faster with quality better than companies a generation before them?
I would love to answer that, Charlie. I really agree with you, and I think I'm very fortunate to have Eugene and Vadim, my CTO and VP of product, who always like keep me grounded. Like I come with ideas, I want them to run fast, and I want to deliver things in a certain time, and then really like come with the technology and the explanation. Like they understand the bits and bytes and what it means and how it will affect the quality. And I think to your point, we're very fortunate to have those technologies. It really allows us to deliver things that we couldn't do before faster. On the other end, super important to understand the technology, what's under the hood, to be able to explain it. And that's what I meant at the beginning when I said it, that it's not just about using titles and it's really, or like you say, to move fast. It's really about delivering a quality product and understand how we do that before you really put that in front of clients and to do all the quality checks and to make sure that your people are really on top of all the challenges before you run to and announce like a new thing that you're using or doing. So
amazing. So I want to take a question to Charlie, and then we can tune in, and then we'll wrap up. Charlie, when you look to invest in an Israeli founder, right? Just when you're comparing them to Americans, and you're American yourself, at least it's according to your accent. What do you see different in Israeli founders that you see in tech founders that are American? And do you have any maybe advice, and this would be for everybody, and then we'll wrap up, for Israeli founders that are looking to move to the United States or considering expanding to the United States, giving you being on the ground and being American and you being exposed to so many technology companies, Israeli ones in particular, what do you suggest?
I think that many Israeli founders are not tourist founders. And let me explain that. The level of sacrifice that Israeli founders make to build their companies, look at Snir and Sivan. If you ask them where their parents are and you ask them where their families are, it's 7 time zones away, thousands of miles away. They came to the US and are building their companies because they have a mission. It's not an option for them. There's little people inside of them saying that they have to do this. These people are on a mission, which I admire, by the way. And the cost of failure is significantly higher for them. It's less of an option than a US potential tourist founder. And by the way, I also, in one quick note, in Israeli society, I look at the level of sacrifice after the horrific events of the 7th. I look to see initiatives like Iron Nation, and Yoel, you talk to the Iron Nation people, and Next October initiatives where the whole society came together to do magnificent things. And I look at these founders as microcosms to those missions.
Are you implying? First of all, that's beautiful. Thank you. Are you implying that Snir and Sivan, the reason why they came to New York was to escape their families? They couldn't handle it.
It's part of the
Right?
that's
People ask
that's
why
for sure part of
why
it.
did you make Aliyah? Well, I was like, 5% of the reason is I'm a black sheep. I need to get away.
Too many family holidays, too many birthdays,
Too many. Yeah,
lack of
seriously.
efficiency.
Those weddings and bar mitzvahs and brit milas, they get expensive after a while. So many of them. Snir and Sivan, maybe just to you guys, and then we'll do final thoughts and we'll wrap up. How do you see the Israelis working in New York? What do you see that they have in common or different than your friendly American counterparts that are doing technology in New York?
I think they're, from a cultural perspective, I think we all build our career in Israel. And it's tough because in Israel, everyone's smart. Everyone wants to be the most successful people. And specifically the technology, cybersecurity, tech in Israel is just insane. This is why we build R&D there. When you're coming to New York, you have like a group of expats from Israel here in New York, building companies, building product. And we have a lot of common because we've been through that path for like building ourselves in Israel, going through that, going to the military, serving our country and coming here. So we're taking a lot of values, we're taking a lot of grit, and we're taking a lot of passion from our past life in Israel. And here in New York, we have the same and common language. One thing that I was very surprised when I moved here, and I'm still very surprised all the time, and this is something you can see in our offices in the World Trade Center in Silvertech that we're very fortunate to be. The amount of support we're getting, Israeli founders to other Israeli founders here in New York, is insane. I knew Sivan even before kind of like having a mutual investor, and I heard her name a couple of times from other friends, like, you should meet her, you should collaborate, you should kind of help each other. She can use you to kind of like maybe some go-to-market opportunities. You can use her for a lot of R&D or like thought leadership and what's going on here with executive and boards and regulations and compliance. And this is like everyone helping each other. And this is something I never experienced ever. And I'm traveling a lot. And I've been in Australia for a couple of years. And I've been in different places also in the States. What we're experiencing in New York is a lot of support from Israeli tech people, not only founders, to the others. And it's just It's a game changer. It's very helpful, and we have a very strong community here. And I hope this community will keep the same DNA, and will keep support each other. But it's very special.
Don't stay there too long. You'll become too American, and then it'll ruin the DNA. What about you, Sivan? What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the sense of community that we have here in New York, in Silvertech, all the founders groups, all the investors, events, and I think it's super important because when you move to a new place, you don't, like in our case, we're not only building a company from scratch, we need to build our reputation. We need to build, no one knows you, and you really need to get to know people and get to build trust with new clients, etc. And it's hard, and the best way to do that is really to leverage your network and to for me also it was super important to get mentors, and I have a mentor for any aspect in my life, I think, and it's way easier when those people are based in your area in New York. I think I Silvertech and Charlie in particular are a huge part of the community that we have here. I often say that Charlie is the father of so many entrepreneurs here. Like when you're away, you don't have family. Like you need someone who is not just an investor or a board member. He's a mentor. He's someone you can trust, and he can give you an advice, and you can speak openly, whether it's you're in bad times or good times. And we all have those, different times on this journey. So super important to have this community. It is very special. I haven't been in anywhere else. I lived in Israel and here, so I don't know, any other places. But I think the community here in New York is really booming. I think we're going to see more companies coming here and having these places where you can feel home away from home. Like I said at the beginning, it's crucial.
Amazing. Before we sign off, maybe Charlie, you want to leave us each kind of how we can find you and what to expect next, so people can stay up to date with you as individuals and the technology and what your companies are doing. Charlie, why don't you kick us off with a goodbye?
What was I couldn't hear that. Can you repeat it, please?
And no problem. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you're working on in Silvertech and how people can stay up to date with you, where to find you online in Silvertech Ventures?
Well, my email is Charlie@Silvertech Ventures, and I'm always interested in meeting people who I would admire. Usually via Snir, Sivan, or one of the other entrepreneurs says you have to meet this really great person.
It's a high bar. Snir, what about you?
To get a recommendation from Snir and Sivan, I would say that's a high bar.
Well played. Snir, where can we stay up to date with you and Zest Security?
Again, social, we're very active in social. So LinkedIn, follow our LinkedIn. I'm very active in LinkedIn as well. I think it's the best place to reach me out.
And Sivan?
Yeah, Sivan@Onyxia.io. That's my email, and LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me as well.
Terrific. My name is Yoel Israel. I'm your host with IsraelTech. We're sponsored by Wadi Digital, Israel's leading tech marketing agency. If you need any marketing for your technology companies, reach out to wadidigital.com. Thank you for tuning in for This Week in IsraelTech, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Snir, Sivan, and Charlie.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.